Simple fact of the few of the big takeaways, which is focusing on how I'm going to train my coaches to think more in light of what the client wants.
The information that I'm getting this weekend, or that I've gotten this weekend, is going to go directly into the success of my business. So this definitely will impact my business.
Big takeaways,
I found a lot of things that I'm going to be able to take back and implement right away and provide a better value to my clients and increase our revenue.
It's the information that I'm getting this weekend, or that I've gotten this weekend, is
like a kick in your pants and motivate you to go back and be better and be greater and to have that growth component. So absolutely, I'm going to go back and go hard when I get home.
If you're thinking just jump into it, jump off the cliff, I guarantee you will fly. You will not fall down to the ground. You will fly and continue to fly. So I'm a big believer in attending workshops, but the right workshops, and this is one of the right workshops you need to be attending.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody is doing great. Enjoying this very nice music as well. All right. We have just a few more people joining in. I just want to do a sound check. Make sure you can hear me. If you can type that in the chat box, that you can hear me just fine. You can see me as well. I'm right here. Let's go full screen here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the How to Double Your Sales with Just 4 Questions Without Being Salesy or Needy. I hope you guys are wanting to get all this information. So if you could just do me a real quick favor, just let's make sure that you can hear me. So in that chat box, if you could just put in there that you can hear me just fine. You can see me as well right over here. Looking right at this camera. We got another screen going there as well, but all right, cool. All right, Ramiko, thank you. Yeah, cool, awesome. Thank you, everybody. Yes. Soundboard working too. All right. Well, welcome to the show, the training, How to Double Your Sales with Just 4 Questions Without Being Salesy or Needy. If you have questions along the way, please feel free to pop that into the chat box. And if I can get to the question straight away, it's right down here. I will do that. Otherwise, I will stick to the end and answer all the questions then as well. But feel free to type in that chat box. That is live. I am looking at it. Elena, thanks. JR, thanks for coming. All right. I see we got Andrea here as well. Cool. And Elena. Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. And we got somebody else joining in right now as well. So let's dive right in to the meat of the topic. I just want to kind of paint a picture for you first. If you could imagine waking up at 3 a.m. in a panic because your bank account is empty. You check your phone, zero, no new sales, zero new leads, and you start wondering, maybe this business isn't for me. Does that sound familiar? I know I've been there multiple times through my 30 years of being an entrepreneur. And that was me because I didn't know how to sell and I didn't know the psychology behind getting really good at understanding what the prospect wants and needs and creating a sales presentation for that. And that's before I discovered these 4 questions that changed everything for me. And we're going to go through all that. So type a $sign in that chat box if you've ever been humbled by issues with money, or if you've ever felt like giving up on your business because of money issues. And anybody that's been in business for any amount of time you know there's always going to be those money issues. So just type that $sign in that chat box. But my goal by the end of this training is that you'll get a tool in your sales toolbox that will fix these money issues. Now, we only have about 50 minutes to spend together, so I can't dive into everything really deep into this. I want to give you what you should be thinking about, and I am going to give you those 4 questions. And then at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go a little bit deeper as well with learning how to script from the heart. And that's what this is all about. So this is why I had to learn this skill of selling. So set the scene here. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon in March, just kind of like today. But this was in Houston, Texas. There were a few puffy clouds in the blue sky. It was hot, but not that typical hot of Houston, Texas, right? It was kind of the spring hot. And I was in the office of my fitness center, and it was out in the back. It was a small office. It was where all the transformers were, as well as the electric closet, really. But I had my desk there, and I was staring at my computer, and tears started streaming down my cheeks. I was looking at my bank account. I had rent and payroll due at the end of the week on Friday, and this was Sunday. But I was going to be $10,000 short. And I don't know about your landlords and your employees, but they tend to like to get paid on time. And I was drowning. The bank wouldn't lend me any more money. I already had tapped out my line of credit. I'd maxed out all my credit cards, and my business was bleeding cash. And I had one choice. I had to swallow my pride and make the hardest phone call I ever had to make. And that was to my dad. And it was definitely the most humbling call I've ever made as a 38-year-old man at that time. Now, my dad tried to troubleshoot with me, which is great. However, he never owned his own business before. And so he didn't really understand the nuances of small business and all that. But he did understand I needed help. So he did agree to loan me the money. And the emphasis there is on loan because it came with a hefty 12% interest rate. And this was in 2008 or 2009 in that time frame. And 12% interest rate. I was like, Dad, wow, that's more than the bank would charge me. To which he replied, well, I'll give you 6 months interest free. And by the way, you'll need to put up your house as collateral as well. I said, and he said he wanted to teach me a lesson. I was like, really, Dad? I'm 38 years old. I need $10,000, not another life lesson. But with that loan, I paid the landlord, paid the employees, and with a little left over, I invested in coaching because clearly I had no idea how to run a small business. And the first thing that my coach told me to do was to get better at sales, as that was the one thing that would save my business. And it was something that I was terrible at. And when she said that I needed to master sales, I was like, nah, I just need more leads, or I just need a better website, or, you know, I don't want to be salesy. My product should just speak for itself and people just want it. Does that sound familiar to anybody? I mean, the truth is more sales solves all problems in business. More sales solve all problems in business. Imagine what you could do by just doubling your sales in the next 6 months. What would you do with that? What would you spend? Would you spend more time with your family? Would you hire another employee? Would you take a much needed vacation? But more than just doubling it, what if you could quadruple your sales? And today, I'm going to show you how you can never worry about money again when you master this one skill in business. And I hope you are really excited for this as well. All right. So a little bit about me. I am a true entrepreneur, which really just means I'm allergic to working for somebody else, and I don't think I could work for somebody else ever again. And of course, I'm not afraid of failing as well. I mean, my first business was a mobile DJ and quartet business, string quartet business. And when I was in high school, I was 16 years old. In 2013, I earned my pilot's license for single engine airplanes, so I can fly in a plane, pilot it anyway. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from DePaul University in theater management, go figure. I love taking acting classes, and I've actually been in several movies as well. One Hollywood blockbuster, it's called Weekend in Taipei. So it didn't do very well at the box office, not my fault. But I have a very little, you can see the back of my head basically in that movie. And I own a appointment setting service, and I wrote the book Selling with Heart. And I coach health and wellness practitioners how to build a great business with a focus on ethical selling. So that's my typical highlight reel, but I also have a pretty epic blooper reel too. I've had several failed businesses. I tried to start an online off-loop theater ticket company in Chicago when I was in school. I owned a blinds and shutter business with a partner who stole the money from me. Opened and closed a second fitness center within 6 months. Tons of failures, but I wouldn't have it any other way because it's what took me to where I am today. And it has taught me so much about business. Now, back to the story about Dad. After being loan sharked by him, my business improved because I got the coaching that I needed, and I dove deep into sales and sales psychology, and I got really good at selling. And not just a little bit. I mean, I went from the first year in business, kind of a measly $100,000 in the first year of business, second year business, almost $500,000, quadrupling my sales year over year, simply because I mastered conversational selling with these 4 questions that I'm going to be giving you today. As for the loan from my gangster dad, well, I paid him back within 6 months because I didn't have to pay that 12% interest fee because he gave me 6 months for free. My dad wanted me to learn a lesson. Well, the lesson I learned was this: sales skills saved my business. I learned that even as an empathetic, introverted person that I am, who doesn't like to ask for money, can learn the skill of sales. Yeah, thanks, Dad. That was definitely a very valuable lesson that you taught. And since learning the power of sales and how it can turn any business around, especially mine, and understanding the psychology behind sales and human behavior, I've had the honor and privilege of presenting all over the world, teaching sales to health and wellness practitioners, and have sold more than $21 million in coaching programs for myself and for others. Sales is what makes business go, because without a sale, there is no business. Actually, repeat that with me out loud, if nobody else is around you, of course. But without sales, there is no business. That was the biggest mindset shift that I had to make. Anyone else feel like they need to create this mindset shift away from selling is doing something to somebody to selling is serving? Anybody else like that? Put a Y in that chat box and let me know kind of where you stand with that. But yeah, definitely selling is serving. So imagine it's 6 months from now, you've doubled your sales. What's the first thing that you'd spend that extra cash on? Would it be another employee to help you out? Would it be some really cool tech? Would it be taking a vacation, taking a holiday? Drop that in the chat. What's your goal for the next 6 months? What do you want to do when you double your sales? Selling with heart is the best path to doubling your sales without sacrificing your soul. I have so much respect for all of what you guys do. And I know that we have a lot of health and wellness practitioners and doctors on the call today and that are watching on YouTube as well. We're streaming live on YouTube, and and we'll watch the replay as well. especially, and I have a lot of respect because you have to deal with our healthcare system in the US, which is in such a dismal state. I mean, you're fighting against insurance company. Hopefully you're going cash pay because that's the way out of that. And then you have big pharma. And more importantly, and more sad, is that there's an apathetic population that doesn't want to take care of themselves. And I totally support all that you do. And I want to make sure you are mastering the skills that will help you help more people and make your own life a lot better. That mindset shift needs to be from selling to get somebody to buy something to selling to solve a problem. Does that feel more in alignment? Yeah, Ramiko, let's add that employee with, help you out, right? But does that alignment, selling is serving, does that feel good to you? Yeah, cool. Thanks, JR. I used to just free flow my sales calls, no structure, which also equaled, by the way, no sales. I wanted to learn all of the, and I wanted to learn all those, cool, slick closing tactics. So I bought books from people like Grant Cardone, the 10X guy, right? And Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street. I even went to a seminar that Jordan Belfort went on. And it was a seminar that he put on. I went to the Tony Robbins seminars and watched himself from the stage. But when I tried all these tactics, they just seemed really heavy-handed and not in alignment with how I wanted to convert prospects into clients. After all, once I made that sale, I'm still going to have to work with that person for 3, 6, 12, 18 months. Right? But with all of that new knowledge that I had from a lot of books that I read on sales and sales psychology, I finally found my new way of selling with just 4 questions. And this framework hasn't just transformed my sales, but the sales of the clients I've helped as well. And these 4 questions are the cornerstone to the call flow you're going to learn today. And I've crafted a call outline that flows naturally and feels authentic, as well as keeping the prospect engaged while also showing value in your program. It took me back to selling is serving and the fact that your prospect has a problem, you have a solution, and it really is that simple. Let's talk about something that we've all experienced, that dreaded, awkward, soul-crushing sales call that went nowhere. I'm sure you've all had that, right? You've been there. The ghosting special, right? You feel great about the call. You send that follow-up email and then crickets. The prospect disappears like they entered witness protection. Or maybe you thought it was going really well. Then they hit you with, oh, that sounds great, but I just need to think about it. And then poof, never to be seen again. Or maybe you did 95% of the talking. You gave them every single feature, every benefit, every case study, pricing option, even your childhood backstory. But by the end, they were more confused than interested. And they just went away to go think about it. Right? Or maybe you showed them the price and their face does that old, oh, wow, that's a lot more than I thought. Right? And then awkward silence. And then if you were like me early on, you probably went into discount mode, saying things like, oh, I can break that into payments. How about if I take 20% off? Will that work for you? How about free? Will you take it for free? Right? Does that sound familiar? I've done that too many times when I first started off until I learned this exact technique. The good news is we can get rid of all of these problems, all of them. But here's the truth. It's not that your prospects didn't need what you offer. It's that your sales call didn't make them feel like saying yes was a no-brainer. That's why having a clear emotionally engaging, structured script with heart is everything. Because if you don't lead the conversation, guess what? The prospect will leave right out the door. So this is the old way, right? I mean, all fun and games aside with those sales calls and then what happens on them. But let's get serious. Like, why does this keep happening? It's because most people are used to using an outdated, broken model that sets them up for failure, right? This is the old way. There's no clear structure. You're just kind of chatting. You jump on the sales call and you think, oh, I just have a nice conversation, and they'll buy if they want it. But what happens instead? The prospect leaves saying, I need to think about it, right? Or maybe you're giving too much information and they get overwhelmed. A lot of coaches and practitioners do this quite a bit. They love to explain everything about their program and their offer, thinking if I just explain more, they'll see how valuable it is. But a confused prospect doesn't buy. By telling them too much, you're overwhelming them, you're confusing them. And there wasn't a connection between their pain or their problem and the solution that you're offering. Or maybe, we're taught to list features. My program includes 10 modules, a workbook, and weekly calls. But people don't buy features. They buy transformation. They want to know, will this solve my problem? And of course, showing the price too soon before you've really established the value. And then they do that whole, ooh, that's expensive. They weren't emotionally sold yet. So it definitely felt expensive to them. And that's why they ghosted you or continue to ghost you. Right? But that's the old way, right? The new way, however, is all about selling that feels right. And when you use these 4 questions that we're going through and the HEART framework, heart framework, it all works so much easier and it feels so much better. So instead of winging it, you'll have a framework that makes every call flow effortlessly. You'll always know what to say, when to say it, and even how to say it. With the what, why framework, that's the 4 questions, you won't have to convince anyone. They'll talk themselves into the sale. And you'll be there just to guide them to make that right decision. And instead of throwing out the price before they're ready, we get them emotionally invested first. And by the time you give the price, they'll be thinking, wow, this is exactly what I need. And when you use these 4 questions, you'll go from closing maybe 1 out of 5, like most people, to 4 out of 5. And that's exactly what happened to Dr. Nick, who went from a 22% close rate to a 77% close rate in the first 30 days of us working together. Now, does that sound like a way that you'd rather sell, this new way, selling from the heart? Is that cool? Now that you see the difference between the old way and the new way, let's break down exactly how you'll do this, right? It's all about your killer sales presentation. Now, I work with clients on 3 things: presentation, performance, and profits. I call it the 3 Ps. The presentation is all about putting together the words on the page. So there is a clear flow to the conversation. And the questions that you ask are relevant to your business. Basically, you're guiding the prospect to say yes and purchase your program. And today's training is going to be all about that, how to structure that script so that you're asking the questions in the right order. Performance is how you say the words, your tonality, because it really does matter is how you say things, especially if you're doing phone sales. And it's also very important in person, on webinars, or on the stage, alongside body language. And then the last P that I always work on is profits. And that's how to handle objections, making it easy for the prospect to buy, and working on sales automations and tracking tools to streamline the whole sales administration. But today, you're learning the call structure. And at the end of this training, you'll get the opportunity to go deeper with creating your own scripting with my help. All right. So here, HEART is an acronym, H-E-A-R-T, and it represents the new way of selling so that you can double your sales in 6 months. And this is what I teach in my Selling with HEART intensive one-on-one program, my Selling with HEART Academy group program, and also in my Script with HEART scripting course as well. Now, the H stands for hugs, which is rapport building. Engage is where you're asking those questions. A is ask. And most people say, oh, well, that's where you ask them for the sale. Well, actually, it's quite the opposite. It's if you do all this right, they're going to ask you how to buy. And then the R and the T are referral and testimonial. Today, we're focusing on engage. And we're going through those 4 questions, the what, why framework. Right? And more specifically, we're going to go through those questions and we're going to get that prospect to tell you why they need your program. This is the template that I typically give out to folks, and this is in the full program as well. Let me just pull that up here, right there. Oh, wrong one. Right here. So this is a sales call flow. Usually it goes hugs, engage, and we have our what, why questions. We're going to go into detail on that. Then we mirror back what we heard them say, give the presentation as well, and then we allow the purchase, which is what I call the ask piece of it. And that is the HEART's overview. Hugs, engage is what we're doing today. And then as part of engage, we go questioning, mirror, and present the solution. And then ask, referral, and testimonial, which we won't have time to go through all of that, but that's all included in the full HEART intensive program and the group coaching program that I have. All right. The what, why framework. It is the questions you ask, which will help you help your prospect explain what their problem is and why it's important for them to fix it and to fix it now. You have to get to the root of the prospect's problem. I mean, there's no trickery or sleazy sales tactics. This is just pure value-based conversations. Now, the first what is where you need to establish what they want to achieve. This is the pleasure piece, where they want to go, where they see themselves in 6 or 12 months. Then you need to follow that up with where are they now? That's the pain. And people are more likely to get out of pain than they are to get to pleasure. I'll illustrate this with a story. I was flying one of those cheapo airlines. It was called Scoot. It's here in Asia. And, it's, you know, the airlines, it's kind of like Spirit, where you have to pay for your seatbelt and oxygen. So I'm there on the flight and it's in the afternoon on vacation, time for beer. So the flight attendant comes over, I order a beer. He comes back, gives me the beer and has the credit card processing machine, does a little swipe with my credit card. He's like, oh, that's weird. Didn't go through. Swipe number 2. Oh, that's weird. Didn't go through. Goes back to the supervisor, the purser of the airplane. Purser comes back and you're like, huh, that's odd. I'm not quite sure what's happening. And then didn't go through. And then they're like, oh, do you have the cash? I'm like, no, I don't have cash. It's not my fault. Your program, your terminal's not working. It's like, oh, we'll figure it out later. Just enjoy your beer. Okay, great. So get to the ground. Nothing really happens. We go about our way. 2 weeks later, I look at my bank statement and guess what? There's 3 charges totaling a total of $18. Yes, $6 for a beer. But I only bought one. And so I spent probably 4 or 5 hours on the phone trying to find customer service and getting those 2 charges for $12 reversed from my credit card. In the meantime, I'm getting these emails that are asking me to take a survey, and they're going to give me $25 for taking the survey that might take 15 minutes to do. And I'm like, I just don't have 15 minutes to take that survey, right? I spent more time trying to get $12 back, the pain, than taking a survey for $25, the pleasure. That's just human nature. We want to move ourselves out of pain and get to pleasure, but we don't. We're going to do more to get out of pain than we will to get to pleasure. That's why you need to have both of those islands, if you will, pain island and pleasure island, because that's going to be the push and the pull to catapult your prospect into making the right decision. And that right decision is to work with you. The first why that we go through is to establish the emotional reason. People buy on emotion and then they justify it with logic. You must get your prospect to an emotional state. And sometimes that's easier than others. So you may need to drill down and keep asking why, like a little 2-year-old. Why? Until you get to that emotional reason. And many salespeople get really uncomfortable asking these questions. However, it's your duty and obligation to help that prospect if you can, isn't it? All right, the next what is what have you tried in the past to achieve your goal? This is where you need to establish a pattern of failures. And as a bonus, ask how much each of these failed attempts cost them. So now you have a baseline of how much they've already spent trying and failing to correct their problem. Very powerful. The last why is why now? You want to create urgency and eliminate the I have to think about it objection. And when they tell you why is now the right time for you to make a change, they're telling themselves. And by the way, if you want to take a picture of this slide, please do that. And by the way, these questions aren't necessarily for you. They're for the prospect to hear themselves answer it. And for many of them, especially in the health and wellness industry, it's the very first time that they verbalize what their problem is, the pain that they're in, why it's important for them to get out of that pain and get to the pleasure, and why now that they're creating this urgency. It's amazing when you see that shift in somebody's face as you take them through this process. And that's the what, why process. So this is Melissa. We had a sales audit call, I think last month, and we went through her current scripting, and she was having problems with her closing rate. She wasn't closing as many deals. She was kind of in this sales slump. A lot of salespeople go through that. And I suggested that she implement the what, why framework, because the scripting that she had that she was using wasn't quite working well because it wasn't taking people through this process. And so we practiced it a few times and then concluded the call. It took about 30 minutes, I think. The next day she emails me and she said, right after our call, she had 2 sales calls and both purchased. And then later that day, she sold another one total of 3 sales in one day, totaling more than $7,500 in sales. It was more sales in one day than she typically makes in an entire week. Needless to say, she was very happy with the result and continues to use the what, why, those 4 questions religiously. Also part of the Engage is the mirror. Now, what you're going to do here, this is just a really popular and really a very effective communications technique as well, is where you mirror back what somebody has told you. It just shows that you're actively listening. And if you're in a relationship, this is a game changer for the relationship to make sure that everybody is on the same page. But it's great for that prospect to feel heard and understood. And in the health and wellness industry, that doesn't happen very often. So you'll be a unicorn by just doing this one technique. So basically, you're just repeating back to them in your own words what you heard them say. And so it might sound something like this. So let me just repeat back what I heard you say. You want to get rid of your diabetes or you want to get your diabetes and cholesterol under control because your lab tests are showing you're at risk for some more serious health concerns. And you want to be around to watch your kids have kids. Not only that, but you've tried multiple times to get to this goal, but failed repeatedly. And now is the right time for you to make this change because you can't stand feeling the way you're feeling right now. Did I get that right? And that it's really that simple. You just go back through the what, why, repeat back what you heard them say, and then ask, did I get that right? And when you do this right, you will get a resounding yes from them. And they're like, and you'll see it in their eyes like, oh my gosh, yes. And this does a couple things for you. First of all, they've heard themselves go through and tell you the what, why. And now you're repeating back. So they hear it a second time. And it's finally sinking in that they have a problem that needs to be fixed right now. And when you hear a patient say to you, wow, you're a really good listener, what that really means is that you're really good at sales, because sales is all about actively listening. And then now you can move on to elegantly into the sales presentation to help them solve their problem with your solution. And this is where many, many practitioners kind of fail a bit, because a lot of people will go through and just blanket give a presentation about the program and not connect it back to solving the problem that prospect had. So you want to craft your solution that feels very personalized to them. And you will take what they've said and then tell them how certain aspects of your program will solve those exact problems. Now, in my Selling with Heart program, we go deep into crafting a really customized presentation and do a lot of role playing around how to customize it for each prospect, because it's really important to connect the dots. Because a lot of times those prospects aren't connecting them themselves. They're just going, okay, that program. But when you say, well, first of all, we're going to put you on a detox because we want to clean out the gut and make it ready to accept nutrients the right way. I don't know if that's a protocol that you guys do or whatever, but that's one way of connecting the gut issue that they were complaining about with a single piece of your program that will correct that. Now, you can say everything that your program does, but just you want to really dive into the parts that are going to solve their specific problems. And when you are actively listening and you present that solution that addresses all of the problems the prospect has, what do you think is going to happen next? That's right. It's a no-brainer decision for them to work with you because you've solved all their problems. And they're literally going, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. This is exactly what I need. Dr. Nick, who I referenced earlier, worked with me to improve his sales conversions. And when we started working together, he was selling 1 out of 5 people, out of 5 prospects that would come to see him. And I said to him, oh, okay, great. Well, let's look at your sales presentation. And he said, what presentation, Tom? And I just kind of had a conversation with them and tell them what I do and then let them make a decision. And I said, oh, and I bet they're telling you that they need to think about it at the end of your conversation. And he said, yeah, how'd you know? Well, the truth is he was overwhelming his prospects with too much stuff, and they were just confused. After we put together his Scripting with Heart, his close rate catapulted to 77%. And now closing 4 out of 5 people instead of just 1 out of 5. And I remember how happy he was when he called me up and told me that he had sold more people without additional advertising, because he was spending a lot of money on advertising, but wasn't converting the people that he was seeing. Now he was converting the majority of the people he was seeing, and those ads were paying off for themselves. And it said, Tom, this is incredible. I can't believe how easy this is and how good it feels to have these conversations to help these people. Comments like that just really, really warm my heart. I love doing this and working with practitioners like yourselves. So then after you present your solution, so you've gone through the what, why, you've mirrored back, and now you've presented your solution. Now you're going to ask a very simple trial close question. And that question is this the approach you're looking for? And when all the other parts of the conversation are performed correctly, they will say, yes, it is. How do I get enrolled? Here's my credit card. Of course, sometimes you may need to prompt them by saying something like, okay, well, the program is just $2,000. And like you said, you want to stop the cycle you're on and finally get your health back on track, right? And at that point, they'll either say yes or no to you. Of course, we customize this language together and when we're working on the scripting with Heart, of course, so that it's very personal to your program. But basically, they're going to say yes, boom, you enroll them very, very easily. Dr. Sarah is another recent client. I just graduated from the program, actually, was selling fee-for-service as a naturopathic and acupuncturist in her practice, which wasn't really serving her very well, and it wasn't serving her patients very well either. And, you know, still a cash pay practice, but just every time somebody came in, you have to collect. And then you never know, are they going to come back or not? Well, let me admit this person. All right. So we worked together and developed packages that she really felt great about offering. 3, 6, and 12-month packages. Then we set the pricing of those and developed her call script. Within the first 5 weeks of working together, she had sold enough packages to pay the investment of my Selling with Heart program. And basically, within 5 weeks, she paid off the program. And she's gone on to sell more, including a 12-month package as well, which is the first time that she's ever, it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I could do this. I mean, can you imagine how great she feels now that the clients will be with her for the long term and she doesn't have to worry about money and how many people are going to be visiting this week? That's a great relief. All right. So next steps for everybody. If you have any questions, make sure that you are putting those into the chat box. And I want to give you the opportunity here, chat here as well. Boom. I've put together a very special program and a very special pricing for you as well. And that is the Script with Heart course. And this is how you can get all the templates, all of the learning of all the hugs, the engage, how to present. We also go into objection handling and tonality as well, some more advanced sales techniques in that course. That course is 11 video lessons, and typically I sell that for $197. But for everybody that is on the webinar or on YouTube as well, that is not going to be $197. Let me just refresh the screen here. It is just $37. And so you're going to discover how to sell without selling or being needy. We're going to do plug and play sales scripts. You're going to get all of those sales scripts templates, but also how to break it down and which questions to customize and all that. All those comprehensive templates and worksheets. It's going to improve your client relationships. We're going to go on tonality and your voice and using that. And then, of course, advanced objection handling techniques as well. But 11 video lessons, easy to follow, 10, maybe 15 minutes of the video lesson in there. But they build upon each other. So you just go through it. You could binge it in a weekend if you like. But basically, all you need to do is just fill in your name, email, and phone number for the next step there. And you can get also for a very special price, usually it's $197 as well, but knocked down to $97 a month, is my Sales Power Hour program. And this is a monthly sales coaching call as a group. Basically, I act as your sales manager. We go through setting the goals. We go through problem solving on sales calls and even doing hot seats in terms of listening to calls and reviewing a call live for everybody to benefit from as well. Really, I love doing this program because it gets people just to be active with upskilling their sales on a monthly basis. And it's only $97 to do that. So if you want that, just click that button. If you don't, unclick it. And then you can pay with Amazon Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, or my credit card there as well. If you want to use my credit card, you can do that. But basically, you'll be taken to this page here. Congratulations on investing. And then this is the real kicker. Schedule a 30-minute sales audit with me where we will then go through how to implement this in your business. So you'd come to that call with a sales script that you've already drafted, and then I will help you refine that script and make sure that it is absolutely going to convert very well. And then, of course, if it makes sense for us to work together for the long term, we can do that as well. But basically, I have appointments next week. This is set to Pacific time, but go to Eastern. Eastern Daylight. So those times on Monday, I have 11:30 a.m. On Tuesday, 2 appointments, 9:30 and 10. And I think I just have the one on Wednesday there. And then the 31st, I got plenty of opportunities there as well. I even might have something in April. Maybe April Fool's Day, April 1st, there might be something there as well. Nope. The calendar just goes out 14 days. So book a time. So get that program. Highly recommended, of course. It's worth $37. And then book a call with me and let's go through that together. All right. Is that fair enough? It's super simple. That's the next step. That's how you continue on getting better at sales, getting that scripting, getting that script with heart, and going through the what, why process that we went through today and getting it all just really nailed down for you. You can also scan that QR code as well. They'll take you right to the page as well. So does anybody have any questions? Let me just go through the chat here as I'm looking here. Add an employee. Cool. All right. It doesn't look like there's any questions. So if you would like to unmute yourself and ask a question live, you are certainly welcome to do that. I'll just hang out here for a few seconds, maybe listen to a little music. Watch me dance. Just kidding. All right. Well, if there are no questions, let me just look back through.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Elena, please.
Yes. So question, I've been in sales for a while and I am approaching a new product right now. So to me, everything you're saying makes so much sense. However, the thing I'm struggling with, this type of sell involves multiple meetings. And with all these questions, would you suggest to reaffirm everything, every single meeting to keep it fresh? Like, what would be your best advice when it comes to like a complex products
Yep.
and
Yeah, so you have a longer sales process with multiple meetings, maybe with multiple decision makers as well, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Or a high ticket. Yeah. So yes, anytime you have multiple sales meetings, always bring back the what, why, because we have to get them back into that emotional reason why they want to purchase. So hopefully you've taken really good notes on the first meeting. And then, so maybe you just go back through, hey, last meeting we talked about, what your goals are, and they are Is that still accurate? Great. And that's important for the company or for you personally, because you'll be promoted and you'll be the hero of the company, and the company is going to make millions of dollars. Just go back through the what, why. So it refreshes kind of where they're at. And sometimes you might want to just ask for a clarification. Could you describe that a little bit more and get them to talk a little bit more rather than just you giving them everything back? That makes sense?
Exactly. Yeah, I just didn't want to sound like I'm repeating the same old thing again, and kind of like bring the freshness to this conversation.
Yeah. People, you know what? People don't remember what they ate for breakfast today or yesterday. They're not going to necessarily remember, and they probably will appreciate you taking the notes and bringing that back up and reminding them of why it's important.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, thanks so much for this presentation. It was very helpful. Such a great refreshment.
Awesome. Thank you so much for showing up, Elena. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Awesome. Does the problem go over setting up the call? So Sabrina, setting up the call, meaning setting the appointment? to get somebody on the call. It doesn't go into the pre-qualification script, but a lot of times, like that's actually pretty easy. So we can do that on the sales audit call to come up with the scripting to get somebody to actually book the appointment. That's what my appointment setting service does all day long. So the program will take you through the questions, and a lot of those questions will be used on the pre-qualification as well. So schedule that time with me. We can customize kind of that appointment setting as well to get people set up for their appointment with you. Yep. Did that answer your question, Sabrina? Just want to make sure that that was what your question was. Yes, thanks. All right, cool. Any other questions? It's right at 50. I said 50 minutes. Boy, I'm I wasn't even looking at the clock, and I got it right on 50 there. All right. Well, cool. Well, if there's no other questions, I want to thank you so much for attending today. Make sure you grab that course. It's going to be a game changer for you. And then schedule that time with me, and we will connect and make sure that you are using the scripting with heart and using it appropriately to improve your business and double your sales in the next 6 months. So until next time, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Tom. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Sabrina. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, you
Thanks,
too.
Andrea. Thanks, JR. Take care, everybody. Leave with some music. It's one of my favorite songs. Especially in the